It's your host, Ashley Cunningham, aka Nanny Announcements, and welcome back to another episode of Vlogsmas. Yes, welcome back to episode 3 of Vlogsmas. Are y'all ready for another juicy story? Yes, that's right. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and get ready for another episode of Nanny News. Is one of my favorites. We're talking about one of the best places in the entire world, Walt Disney World. Yes, y'all, this is the best place ever. This story is about how, if you guys remember when I first started doing our Instagram, on our nanny news on Instagram Live, I brought up a story how this nanny went on her TikTok and showed her day in the life of being a nanny, but she was at Disney World. Little did she know that this post blew up to the point where she got 2.6 million views. Once it blew up, all these parents were flooding her with questions and how they can find this service, if they can hire her because they're coming to Walt Disney World and they need somebody. So she kind of got overwhelmed and didn't really know what to do. So she started an agency. The agency is called Once Upon a Nanny, LLC. She hired 8 nannies. These 8 nannies are hired by the family to take them to Walt Disney World for the day or for the week or however long the family may be there. They also go into the hotels and provide services for the families while the parents go out and do date nights and things like that. She came up with 5 different tips to share with you all of how to become a Disney nanny, because we all want to become a Disney nanny. Like, this job seems like one of the best jobs out there. Like, who wouldn't want to go to Disney World all day and get paid and have the best time of your life? Who wouldn't want to do that? So she gave us 5 different tips that I'm going to share with you today of how to become a Disney nanny. Now, some of these are kind of common sense with if you are a career nanny and been in the industry for a while, but also, being a Disney nanny, which I'll talk about here in one of the tips as well, kind of requires you to be where you're kind of like I don't want to say you're consider yourself a career nanny, or if you consider yourself like just a nanny and you're doing this as a side gig. This Disney nanny kind of is what is up your alley. But I'm sharing it for everybody because if you're anything like me, I get side jobs left and right. I got a side job right now on top of my full job, which I'm working with. Technically, we're 2 different families right now. So anyways, long story short, whatever. We're going to go back to it. But I'm going to share 5 different tips with you about how to become a Disney nanny. Tip number 1, live by a theme park. And buy an annual pass if you can. She said that this is the best thing to, obviously if you live in an area where a theme park is. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be Florida. It could be California. The Six Flags are all over in every state. So just being close to a theme park, or even if you have your own theme park in your state. Like I'm from Kansas City, and we have a small theme park in Kansas City called Worlds of Fun. Even living by that or being close to that will help you. And also being able to purchase an annual pass. The girl that Sienna, she's the Disney nanny that I'm talking about and sharing these tips about. Her very first TikTok and how she became this Disney nanny, she had an annual pass, and she just asked her family if she could take her nanny kid to Disney World. And then she documented it on TikTok, and she used the hashtag theme park nanny, which that's how her name blew up. But living by the theme park, obviously, and having that pass obviously gave her the step up in the initiative to be able to get this gig. Now, CN says that she does hire nannies that don't have annual passes, because as we know, some of these families do have annual passes. For me, I would ask the family to buy an annual pass if that was if I lived in an area like that, because these annual passes, especially for the Walt Disney World, the big theme parks, are not cheap. If you are a non-resident in just the Walt Disney World, it could be up to $1,300 just for one membership. So tip number one is to live by a theme park and to buy an annual pass if you can. Tip number two, create magic even when it's 95 degrees outside. So basically she's saying that being a Disney nanny requires you to be, it's very physical work. You're going to, it's not just a typical job where where we eat, we feed, we, schedules. You're literally walking the entire time. And as you know, at Walt Disney World, you can be there from sunup to sundown. And that means you can be walking from sunup to sundown. And we all know that in Florida or in a lot of places, the hot summertime can be very, very tiring and very hot. So she said just making sure that you like working in heat and like being physically active on your job, because obviously, if you don't, then Disney Nanny is not up to your teeth. Tip number three, be fun, interactive, and extremely responsible. So, as we all know, being a fun nanny obviously gets you the brownie points for the kid, brownie points for the parent, and just obviously makes your job 1000% better if you try to have the best fun as it. The big thing for me is to be extremely responsible, because if you really think about it, you are taking this child to a park that has over thousands of people, up to maybe 10 to 20,000 of people a day, and just knowing and being prepared for everything, making sure that your eyes are on the child at all times. If that's coming up with a band where she wears one, you wear one, same Tyler band. You write her number on your hand, or put in a piece of paper in her pocket that has your number, her phone, like everybody's information, just in case something does happen. Making sure, since it is COVID right now, making sure you have multiple different masks, making sure you have snacks and waters, hats, sunscreens, all that you need for the kid, but also making sure that you have that stuff for yourself as well, because you obviously need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Taking a kid to a theme park is very big responsibility, more than just taking them to the park, in my opinion, because as I say, there's more people, more eyes, more opportunities for, I guess, a disaster to happen. So just being on your P's and Q's, what she said, and just having fun, but being extremely responsible is the number one thing that they look for when they're hiring a Disney nanny. Tip number four, have some prior childcare experiences and recommendations. She says, Sienna said, Sion, I'm sorry, I'm saying her name incorrectly probably because I can't pronounce names right, y'all. But Sion, or Sienna, which is the Disney nanny, which owns the agency called Once Upon a Nanny, and she's the one sharing us the tips, says that she requires to have 2 different recommendations, basically from different families, just stating your childcare experiences, and knows that you're able to take care of kids and have experience. I mean, if you go the agency route as a nanny, or if you've been in this industry for a while, we all know that recommendations and having experiences gets you further and further along in this industry. So keeping those recommendations is good. And say you did take your kid to a theme park or a some type of park like that while you were just for a fun day on your day, while you weren't considering yourself a Disney nanny at the time or whatever, you took them on just a fun day throughout. I mean, maybe have them write a recommendation about that, and stating stating the experience and how you were able to take care of the kid and make sure the kid was responsible, had fun, things like that. That will also help you get more attention and noticed by families, because as we know, once you get hired as an agency, it's up to the family based on your experience and based on what you have in your story if they want to contact you. So keep those recommendations going, y'all. And last but not least, the final tip number 5, understanding that this job probably won't be a full-time gig. This is prior back to what I said earlier, that this job is more for a side gig, or maybe if you're going to college and need some extra income. This job isn't a full-time job unless you are getting families left and right, which I'm assuming more time in the summertime it'd be more, I guess, suitable and maybe more reasonable to become a full-time job. But if you really sit down and think about this, you're getting hired to take the kid to Walt Disney World, and most of the time some families only go to Walt Disney World for 1 day or 2 days, just because of how expensive and things like that how much it is, and just how big the parks are. So just keeping in mind that this isn't a full-time gig, and if you are looking for a full-time gig, I mean, maybe looking for a family that does have an annual pass where you can become the Disney nanny for that day or those weeks that you do go. So those are the 5 those are the 5 tips, y'all. Those are the 5 tips she shared, and I think that they're pretty, useful and handy. I just think that her story is really cool, and how she basically went to Disney World that day and didn't realize that her life would forever change. Honestly, she became a whole business owner right after that video blew up. So I just think it was a really cool story to share, and I know there's a lot of people out there, and some nannies that live in Florida, some people that live in California, that can easily do this as a side gig. I mean, some of you may be able to turn it into a full-time gig. For me, I would get really creative with it and try to, and just take that challenge and try to make it into a full-time gig. But as I say, it's obviously this story isn't for everybody. These tips aren't for all of us. Some of these tips we already know, but I thought it was really cool to share how she shared 5 tips, and basically this is how she became a theme nanny. The power of social media does do a great justice. Sometimes it can be a distraction and things like that, but as we know, it can be very, very helpful, as it was for this nanny. She started a whole business off of one TikTok. So that's episode 3 of Vlogmas today, how to become a Disney nanny. I hope you all enjoy it, and I will see you all for episode number 4 tomorrow. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and happy holidays from Nanny Announcements. Bye.